Which is why, Connor Rogers, my question to you, hi, by the way, my question to you would be um, the Jets, from a roster standpoint, may be the best option for Aaron Rodgers, as you said. But is Aaron Rodgers really the best option for the Jets? If you're the New York Jets, and listen, I'm all about mental health. I'm all about doing what you got to do to center yourself. But do you really want to attach yourself to a dude who was just in like a hobbit's cave or some shit, with in darkness, and like to make a decision about whether or not to make $60 million from the Packers or whether to ask for a trade to wherever he wants to go? I mean, he's probably there for 1 year. Didn't y'all go down this road before with, I don't know, another former Packers quarterback? I mean, I get that the Jets are trying to end this playoff, this non-playoff stretch. I get it. I get that they're ready to win now. But it's like, it just feels like this has the potential to blow up in their face, dealing with a guy whose own organization lets some people like Bob McGinn, who's been around for a long time, whose own organization is tired of him. And now the Jets want in on this mess. I don't know if he's the right guy for them, Connor.
This is what happens, Michael, when you miss at number 2 on a quarterback and you start shopping in the clearance aisle. And it's no disrespect, not calling Aaron Rodgers a clearance quarterback, but
sure,
every single quarterback that you look at will have their issues,
sure,
whether it's Derek
Carr. Off Fifth is a great store. I don't know about you. Saks off Fifth Avenue is a great store. You can find great stuff there. So there's that.
Absolutely. I think when it comes down to it, the Jets are a desperate team at the quarterback spot. And they're trying to figure out if any of these guys want them. I don't think it's a layup that Derek Carr wants to be there, to be honest with you. When I was at the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama, everything I had heard was the Saints before that visit.
That makes sense.
We'll see where that goes. And then you look at Rodgers, nobody knows what he wants at all. I've heard every single corner, whether it's retirement, evenly with going back to Green Bay, evenly with playing somewhere else. And there's just not a lot of places for him to go play when you look at it right now. And then, I mean, honestly, the best option for the Jets that seems unattainable because I can't see Baltimore ever doing this would be to put the best package together to get Lamar Jackson, where you have your guy for a very, very long time. But Baltimore, if they trade him, which it feels like every day we get closer to that, it seems so insane, it has to be to the NFC. So this is the problem the Jets find themselves in right now. They are absolutely desperate.
Well, you mentioned desperate. They're so desperate, Natalie. My old friend Dan Russini said this. They told Derek Carr, and people think I got a problem with Derek Carr. Derek Carr is the official quarterback and brother from another. I like Derek Carr. I just don't think he's great. I think he's fine. They told this dude, this is one of those where you tell, Connor, close your ears, Natalie. Connor, you know how sometimes you got to tell her whatever you got to tell her. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it takes you. Hey, you just sometimes just say I love you. You don't really mean it, but it's necessary in the moment, right? The Jets told this dude that you're gonna be a first ballot Hall of Famer if you in here. Come on, bro. You ain't gotta be that thirsty where you gotta lie to the man.
Not you telling me to close my ears, Connor. I would like to know, in terms of, well, one, I want to know what you think, like who you think is the best fit. Interestingly enough, we put up a poll, and you brought up Lamar, but so it sounded like Lamar would be someone who you would think is interesting there. But we put up a poll like on our social just to see what our viewers thought. And Carr is leading the race, but we had Carr, we had Rodgers, and we had Lamar Jackson. So I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised. It feels like the consensus with the public because they don't want to deal with two things with Aaron Rodgers: himself, and how mysterious he is, and the fact that he can come play for a year like Brett Favre did and then retire, go somewhere else, whatever it may be, just not want to be there in New York. And then the other part of it is the trade package as well. You do have to trade for Aaron Rodgers while you just have to sign Derek Carr. But I go back to what Michael said. I don't really think Derek Carr is great. I don't know if Derek Carr is good. I think Derek Carr is fine. Does fine get you far in the AFC against Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson? We'll see if Deshaun Watson can get back on stride next year with the Browns. We don't know that. It's not good enough. I don't. It's just pure honesty, and it's really blunt, and it's a tough thing to say to Jets fans and that fan base I've connected with from doing Jets pre and post game all year, every single Sunday. But I think Carr puts them in a position where they're looking at it and going, this guy will be good enough that maybe we don't get fired, but I don't think he's good enough to win them playoff games. And that's a really tough fine line to balance.
I like how you put that. Let's turn now, because you and I will see each other in Indianapolis next week for the scouting combine. Let's turn now to the teams who are looking at quarterbacks the old-fashioned way at the top of the draft. And I want to start with, well, it doesn't feel like there's a consensus one, because I think Stroud is probably the most prototypical polished passer. He showed some athleticism against Georgia that otherwise had not been consistently on display during his Ohio State tenure. Bryce Young's the playmaker, but I want to ask about him in a second. Of course, Anthony Richardson has all the upside in the world. Your annual boomer bust prospect, given how little he played at Florida. Bryce Young, though, has there been a more important measurement in recent combine history than the height and weight of Bryce Young that we're going to find out next week?
I don't think so. Since I've been doing this, the one I think of that was scrutinized was Kyler Murray, but Kyler was a thicker quarterback. He got over that 200-pound mark, and people really didn't care about his height as much because he's one of the most electric runners we've seen at the position, high school to college, and then he took that to the NFL level, where they didn't think he'd be in position to get hit a ton, where Bryce is a situation that, real talk, he's not going to come in at 200 pounds. He's not going to come in at 6 feet tall. I would put the over-under at 5'10.5" for his height. I would say if he can get to 190, that's a massive win for him. And that's crazy to say about a quarterback. And keep in mind, I have him as a top 5 player. I think he's the best quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
I think the tape doesn't lie. I think he can come in and actually play at a really high level right away in the right offense that protects him and has decent, not great, decent wide receivers, because he throws with anticipation, he throws with timing, he can manipulate the pocket with his feet. His size, to me, has no impact on his play, in or out of the pocket. But if he takes one big shot, what is that going to do to him at under 200 pounds and a guy that's not 6 feet tall? And that's going to be the talk of town when evaluators go up and stack him, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and a little further away from me than Will Levis. So a fascinating measurement for Bryce Young. This is going to be hyped up around the combine.
I'm glad you distinguished, you separated Will Levis, because my next question was going to be, it seems like it's like pick whichever flavor you like. I mean, some people love the tools of Anthony Richardson and the makeup, even though he lacks the experience. Stroud, all he did was light it up at Ohio State. It seems like he has the least amount of questions. So I would ask you, put your GM hat on before we let you go. If you're the Colts, shall we say, and there's a lot of speculation about whether they would move up to 1 to get their guy of choice in Chicago's spot, since they don't need a quarterback, or the Texans at 2, or any of these quarterback-needy teams, who's your flavor? Who's your particular favorite quarterback out of this group of 3, since we've already eliminated Will Levis from Kentucky?
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Young, by a pretty good margin. I still have Stroud as a top 12, 15-ish player. Bryce Young's a top 5 player. Anthony Richardson, more fringe top 20, and then you have Levis, like we said. So here's the kicker for me if you're the Colts. If you go up to 1, not only are you getting the best quarterback, you're also hurting a division rival in Houston where you're getting him. But if that trade package is too much to Chicago, I have no problem sitting at 4 and taking CJ Stroud. Your offensive line needs to be better. You need to continuously give him a pocket to keep him upright, let him dissect the field, go through his reads. He can make any throw at all 3 levels. So it's really a 2-man race with the quarterbacks to me. Richardson will go in the top 10 because he has all the tools in the world. He's a really high-end talent. He needs a redshirt year. He's a really young guy. Levis is getting closer to 24. Richardson played the season as a 20-year-old, so he needs more seasoning. He needs more time, like Mahomes got, like Jordan Love has gotten, although Jordan Love, they've left that one sitting there a little bit too long, some would say. So I think at the end of the day, I would go all in for Bryce Young if the price was right. No problem with the consolation of Stroud.
I think that's the best way to do it. But even if the price is a little expensive, if the Colts, much like the Jets, going through this quarterback carousel, you got an opportunity to solidify and get the best guy, assuming they believe he's the best guy, you pay that price and keep him out of Houston. Because the worst thing could happen in Indianapolis is you sat and waited, let Houston get the quarterback they wanted, and now you got to deal with him for the next 10, 12 years. The kid's the real deal. I agree with you. Bryce Young's that dude. I wouldn't worry about his size personally, but I get it. It's that time of year. We got to nitpick everything, right?
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.